Well, greetings, church family. So, if you were with us last weekend, either in person or you tuned in online, you know that our mayor asked churches in our city of Amarillo to prayerfully consider what we could do to help mitigate the spread of COVID-19 in our community. I went through some of the things that she reported to us. Just suffice it to say, our city is in dire straits. We're in a tough situation. And so she knows this is a hard decision for us to consider stopping our in-person meetings, going online, using the protocols, whatever. And she just so kindly said, I will trust your prayerful conclusions, but I had to ask for you to prayerfully consider some things. And so she was right. It has been a really hard few days for our leadership. We know our church family needs connection and that there's something very valuable and vital about in-person connection. And of course, we just want our activities to continue. But we also care about our city, and we recognize the dire situation that especially our medical community is in. There's not one person I've talked to in the medical community that just kind of shakes their head and says something to the effect of there's no beds. And, it's dire, and we don't all have privileged side of that because we're not in there. They don't even allow us to come there. And so we don't have perspective. So we have our own connecting to God and God's people needs that we need to consider. And we have the best practices in loving our neighbors in the current culture we're in to consider. So after prayer and discussion, the short answer is our response to Mayor Nelson's request is to continue meeting so long as our safety protocols increase. Okay, so we feel like that's incumbent on us in her request. We do want to keep meeting, but due to the dire situation in our hospitals, we believe our church activities, we can't continue unless we are all diligent in maintaining physical distancing and wearing our masks at all times when we're gathered together.
Yeah, Brian, I appreciate the way you said that and the way we've wrestled with this. But I want to be clear, we're meeting, but we will increase. And the only way the leadership felt good about continuing to meet is increasing our commitment to the safety precautions that we have in place, which is cleaning your hands, washing your hands, using hand sanitizer, those kind of things, mask wearing, and physical distancing. And we will, as many of us said, double down on that. We think that's important. And I want to remind you too, there's not very many people that wake up in the morning and have a little tickle in their throat or a cough and think, oh, I've got COVID. Most of the time you wait until fever comes on or things like that before you even consider that. And I just want to caution you as you're considering whether or not to come to our live service, that if you have any symptoms, any maybe I might have COVID, don't come that morning. Worship with us online. I experienced it. I've had COVID and I'm still recovering from COVID, the side effects of COVID. And it started with a cough, which is pretty normal this time of year, if you know me, for me. But we must be cautious in this as we move forward.
Yeah, and so there's the caution side of this. Obviously, that's one of the reasons the mayor's asking. And she loves us and she cares for us, but she's pretty confident in us. I got to exchange emails with her that we wouldn't do anything that's not safe at Southwest, and I'm grateful for that. But there's another reason she's asking, and that's because our city needs a wake-up call to how bad the situation is. Remember, we think of our little world. We've asked her to think of our whole city, okay, to take in all considerations. And it's been a struggle because our city hasn't done a really great job of just surrendering to some of these mitigating factors that would help the situation. So who does she turn to? Well, she turns to those in her city that she knows also loves their neighbor, and that's us. And so I just want to ask you, we don't want to just honor that request because it's safe for us and it's safer to do it that way, but can we do it to kind of serve in our city to help other churches that are joining in this and nonprofits to just help alert everyone to what's going on? Because not everyone knows the situation we're in. So please don't just kind of be willing to do this when we meet, but would you consider doing it out there? Would you model best behavior when you go to the grocery store. You got to go to the grocery store. We got to live life. We got to eat. But would you model some of these behaviors out there just to up the awareness in our community? That is something that is motivating this ask as well. And I think we can maybe do that. I would ask you to consider it.
Yeah. So what we're saying is in our large group gathering for the hour on Sunday morning, we're going to increase our safety measures. Would you consider increasing your safety measures no matter where you are? If you've been wearing mask and distancing, maybe there's something even more you can do for our city. Would you increase? And some of you will not feel comfortable coming to our live in-person service. Maybe it's because you don't feel comfortable wearing a mask, and especially for that length of time. Maybe it's just you've got to be super safe because of something going on in your life, and you don't want to have that risk. I just want to give you permission. Don't feel guilty about that. I know we can let the devil speak lies to us and let guilt drive us. Don't feel guilty about that. And that's why we have our online service. And we're so thankful that we have this live streaming capability that we didn't have back in March. We couldn't do that back in March, and now we can. And so our live service was reaching the world. I hear some of our city leaders have even started watching Brian's sermons, which is kind of cool. Just check in online when you're not feeling safe.
Yeah. And we just want to remind you, this is a fluid situation. We're going to have to be agile. So this is our decision today as a result of circumstances that happened last Thursday. So we're just going to have to be agile as we enter into this winter season and see what happens. And so we ask for your cooperation, of course, but your grace too. Okay. We might not make the right decision, but I've watched our elders process this and our ministry team. The reasons we're making the decisions are rock solid. Okay. So that's what we're going with. It is love first mentality, not just for our community, but for each other. We're really trying to weigh that. So we need your grace as much as we need your cooperation, and we need you to be agile because things could change on a dime. We don't know what's coming around the corner.
Right. And many will ask about the children's ministry and our youth ministry. It's so important to spiritual growth for those families and students. Our children's ministers and the leadership there, and Adrian and his leadership in the youth ministry have been so diligent in providing events that are appropriate for said age, but that are also safe. And we're just asking them to do, and they've committed to doing exactly what we're doing as a church, exactly what we're asking you to do in your personal life. And that is just increase their commitment to safety as they meet in those kind of groups, and not do things that aren't safe, that have been proven as not safe. And there are some church-wide events that we love that we just won't be able to do at this time, like Holiday Happening, like our Widowers Banquet, because those involve more social aspect and food is not good. And so we're not doing any of those events for this season. We hope to be able to do those events in the spring or events like that, but not right now.
Yeah. And so again, we need your grace. I appeal to you to give grace to our children's and student leaders as well. Because if there are riskier activities, they may need to adapt those or not have those as well, just like we're doing with the large church. And just a shout out to the small groups. Really, we just want to remind you, we need you to stay connected. That's just a vital part of our lifeblood as a church. But we want to remind you that much of the spread that has been tracked in the city and in the world, it likely comes from smaller group social encounters that are not structured, and with friends and family. They feel safe. So we just want you to consider that as you decide how your group stays connected, whether that's meeting with more protocols than you have in the past, or would it be better just to go virtual again for a season? And we just give you that word of caution and remind you of those things.
And in church, we want to thank you for your prayers. I personally thank you for your prayers. As I've walked through COVID, and Christy's walked through COVID, and thank you for that. But But more than that, just the texts and emails that we've received, some of the leadership has received this week from many of you, encouraging us and praying for us. And we're so thankful to lead a church like Southwest. It's often that Brian and I will text each other and just say, man, I love our church because of that kind of thing. But I want to also just ask you to, I know many of you are, but if you aren't, start. And if you are, increase your prayers for our leaders in this city, for our city, for our city council and our mayor who wear the weight of what's going on in our city right now and carry it around, and just pray for peace for them and wise decisions. Pray for our governor and the decisions that he makes. Pray for our teachers who are our heroes and on the front lines of being at work with people and loving our students and modeling peace. Pray for our healthcare workers, all of them. They're even at the clinics. Those healthcare workers are overwhelmed, and just let's pray. Let's commit to pray for our city.
Yeah, and so also, this whole situation we're in, the tension that it puts in us. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, but it is an opportunity to maybe confront some things in ourselves that we wouldn't otherwise have ever confronted. So often transformation doesn't happen unless it has to happen. Right. So I don't like that we're in this situation. I don't want to be in this situation. I don't want you to be in this situation. But while we are, just pray for yourself too, and let God work with you and examine, be introspective. Ask God, examine me, God. Put me before you and examine me and my heart, and help me reflect on my decisions, how I make those decisions, my behaviors, what motivates those behaviors, and just a big, giant practice in humility. This is just, there's not any single category that doesn't have not just one other category to consider, but 5 others. And it's very complex. So I just appeal to you to just examine yourself as well. Thank you so much, church, for living life together and with each other. We love you so much. And with us, we feel loved by you, and just know we love you with our whole heart, and are grateful that we can appeal to you to protect our ability to keep meeting together by just really being a little more diligent than we have. And just remember, this won't last forever. And we've got God on our side, and and we can be filled with hope. We don't have certainty, but we have hope. So we love you, church.
We love you.